Hey, welcome back, guys. So this video is going to be my Season 3, Episode 4 trailer reaction for Raising Kanan. The episode is titled In Sheep's Clothing, as in a wolf in sheep's clothing, a famous idiom which is also backed by a Bible verse. But before we get into all that, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, big thank you to all of my channel donors. If you'd like to be the next one, drop $1 on that Cash App for us. And lastly, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things power. Here we go. Now, as I was saying, the phrase "in sheep's clothing" comes from not just a popular saying, but also a Bible verse referenced in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 15. It states, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." Now, when you think about the context of this scripture and the events of the season that we've seen thus far, who is the sheep? And more importantly, who is the wolf? And to round all of that out, who is the wolf that's presenting themselves like a sheep? There's one person in particular that fits this criteria, and another not so much that definitely still falls into place. As we've seen so far this season, the biggest threat to our characters is someone who really looks like they went to a technological institute. He wears striped polo shirts, a Men's Warehouse jacket, and thick glasses. Yes, of course, we're talking about Ronnie Mathis. Ronnie doesn't come off as your typical threat, or thug, or gangster, or murderer. Much to the contrary, Ronnie looks like he's on his way to Wall Street at best, and Radio Shack at his absolute worst. He gives off vibes more of a nerd or a Poindexter if we're just judging him by his outward appearance. But nothing could be further from the truth if we're talking about his true nature. And if Ronnie is indeed the wolf, in this parallel, Kanan would be the sheep. And not a sheep merely because his hands are clean, but a sheep in the sense that he's an innocent. Although he's conducted business as a mature adult this season, Kanan in reality is still a child. And a child, even in error, is still an innocent. With that framework being understood and laid out, let's get into the episode description. It states that new business ventures take shape for the Thomas family, but the outlook is bleaker for the Mathis brothers as Ronnie's patience runs out. Rock makes a risky move for Kanan's obedience. That last line is really interesting because it extends the wolf category to Rock herself, someone who's as vicious as they come and should never be taken for granted. Although it does seem like on the surface this season that she's taken a series of L's when it comes to her son. But we should be wise enough to know that that's not going to continue to last for the duration of this season. And Rock will regain control in some form or fashion. We just have to see how it pans out. But let's get into the images. The first image we see is that of Ronnie versus Dean. If you remember, Dean was Rock and Unique's former drug supplier prior to taking a step back from the both of them due to the pending war between them. Also, the conclusion of Season 1 and the brief incarceration of Unique all but sullied their business relationship and will leave Dean to view Unique as too nuclear to do business with going forward. Understanding all that, we know that Ronnie's patience is running short with trying to get back into the game and waiting on his brother to make good on those promises. So this scene is likely Ronnie approaching Dean about getting some weight and being unceremoniously denied in the process, which is why we see him getting physical with the former drug peddler. The scene was surely interesting in the trailer, and its conclusion may be even more crazier in the episode itself. But let's move on to the next image. We see the police hassle Kanan, overlapping with Lulu's warning to his nephew that whatever he's into, it isn't good. Now, Kanan's hands are into a lot of pots at this point, so who knows just what the police are wrangling him up for. But I will say this, Kanan's business is drugs, and by the looks of things, he's walking through a metal detector of sorts. So we definitely got to keep that in mind because it seems that Kanan is being wrapped up for something outside of his expertise. Then, in the next image, we see Kanan's Star Delivery boy being chased down by the police. The manner in which they're chasing him means that he's likely going to get arrested as they're hot on his tail. And by him being brought in, could this potentially be the gateway to someone else stepping up in his place and taking over that #1 spot in Kanan's budding organization? Perhaps the alleged Ghost and Tommy that we've seen in his crew on the sidelines, or at least who's believed to be the young Ghost and Tommy at this point. In the next frame, we see Howard questioned by the feds. Now, I doubt this questioning is about Burke, as that's an internal NYPD matter. But you can bet, due to what we've seen of the feds so far, that they're likely questioning Howard about the drug infestation in South Jamaica, Queens, and how it leads back to certain murders. Now, we've seen Italians being dropped left and right, but we also can't forget about Crown, who Rock fed a story to the police about, but was warned by Howard in episode 3 that the feds would dig deeper and wouldn't buy just any old story or on face value without a proper investigation. In the frame immediately following this one, we see Kanan looking out the window as if he's seen a ghost or the boogeyman himself. I think we all know who he's looking at, or at least think we know who he's looking at. The same one who was looking at him back in episode 3. Now, it would be crazy if Kanan's looking out that window and Ronnie's standing there like a pure goofy, just breathing hard and giving off those same ill vibes he was giving him in the conclusion of last episode. But it would suggest yet again that the two have a date with the inevitable, and soon their paths are going to cross. But there's someone else that Kanan could be looking at as well, and that could be the feds. Although the feds use more tact than Ronnie, they wouldn't be standing in the middle of a block, making their presence known. But if they got a little too close for comfort with those cameras, who's to say Kanan didn't spot one of them and could potentially be onto their presence in not just his life, but his mother's? Following this scene, we see Ronnie and Neek share a tense moment. This is likely the residue from the initial frame of this trailer, which shows Ronnie assaulting their former connect. By Neek's expression, mixed in with Ronnie's detachment, you can sense an uneasiness truly developing between the brothers, which doesn't bode well for the younger, as Ronnie seems to be on a mission whether Unique wants to go along with him or not. And finally, we get a hand wrapped up by a black glove with a butcher knife in it. This tells us that there will definitely be a murder in episode 4. Now, in the season trailer, we did see Rock wrapped up in black leather with a gun in hand, and we also know that Rock has lingering enemies in the form of Juliana, whose debt hasn't been repaid for her treachery at the tail end of season 2. Could this be Juliana's moment of truth? This commentator surely hopes so, but I guess we'll see. But that'll do it for this one. What are your thoughts on the new images from episode 4? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share it with your friends who are Power fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.